Here, once again, I see a lot of hands being raised. We're going to start here in front of me. We're going to do front row. The first three questions will come in the front row here. Yep, start in the end.
I got the extension approved today for Preston. Just how important was that for you, and how has that role kind of increased in demand in college basketball lately?
Yeah, I mean, he's really the one managing the roster, putting it together for next year. I think he's the best recruiter in the country. So, you know, Alabama's showing that they're going to put the resources into being an elite basketball program. We needed to keep pressing around. He's highly sought after across the country, and he likes it in Alabama. His family likes it here. We wanted to make sure we kept him here, so it was big that we got that done. And yeah, I mean, I've known him a long time. It's a pleasure for me to get the opportunity to actually work with him. He started recruiting my kids when I was a high school coach back in Detroit. He's from Saginaw, so, you know, I sent a kid, E.C. Matthews, to Rhode Island, played for Dan Hurley, that Preston recruited, and our relationship kind of, he had even been recruiting kids before E.C. So I've known him a long time. I love working with him. I'm glad the school values him like I do, and it's good to have him around with us moving forward.
Stay in the front row here in front of us.
Nick Kelly, AL.com. Nate, you have the number one strength of schedule on Ken Palm. How does it prepare you for a matchup like this?
Yeah, I think we've had it back-to-back years now, if I'm correct. Look, Duke's number one on Ken Palm. We have played other very good teams. You know, I think if you kind of go down that list, we've played Houston, who's up there, Auburn, who's up there, Florida, who's up there, Tennessee. And then I think we're sixth. If you're going off Ken Palm, I think I looked at it not too long ago. So this is the only one we haven't played that's ranked ahead of us. You know, we split with Auburn. We beat Houston. I cost us that game at Tennessee there at the end of the game. So the players played well enough to beat Tennessee on the road at Tennessee. Florida, we did not beat. So gives us another opportunity to play one of the best teams in the country. I think playing those other teams has prepped us to play a game of this caliber. Obviously, they're different. Nobody had Cooper Flag. Nobody's got the rim protection that Malawek has. But those other teams had other things they did well. So you got to put your individual scouting report together. But there's an intensity and a focus and a level of preparation that comes with playing teams of that caliber, and we've done that before. And I think we've been right in those games and done pretty well in most of them.
Stay here, row one, right in front of me.
Hey, Nate, Eddie Pels from AP. I know obviously you're the highest scoring team in the nation, so we all think, or maybe it would lead people to think you don't really worry about defense too much. Could you set the record straight, or is that the truth?
No, listen. So we definitely don't want that to be the truth. We do care about defense. You know, this is my sixth year at Alabama. We've been top three in the country in defense 2 of those years, and those years we happened to win the SEC regular season tournament both. We're top 30 in defense this year. If you look at the efficiency metrics, we really try to base the program on effort, toughness. You know, that's why we give it a blue collar points out, give out a hard hat award. And, you know, there's more to being a great defensive team other than just playing hard and having some toughness about you. You also got to execute a game plan, and you know we've got to do that against Duke. So, what I think the better our defense is, the better our offense is. We're not a program that, you know, I know we just broke Loyola Marymount's record for threes made in a game, but they kind of pressed and gave up lots of layups, and they were okay with giving up points because they just wanted to get points. And that's not the way we play. We don't press. We try to have a sound, solid defense. We've got an NBA guy running our defense, and Brian Adams this year. Before him, it was Charlie Henry, who was with me my first 4 years. He came out of the NBA, so we try to prep our guys for the NBA on both sides of the ball. But, you know, we've had games where we've had really good defensive performances. We haven't had a 40-minute where we played great defense for the full 40 against, you know, one of these best teams in the country, and we're going to probably need to do that against Duke, in my opinion. But we've shown we're more than capable of being one of the best defensive teams in the country. We just got to do it on a consistent basis, night in and night out. and top 30, a lot of programs would trade places with us. We're still top 30. We just not top 3 like we've been a couple of years.
I'm going to stay on this side for a few more. End of row 2.
And Nate, Luke DeCock from the News and Observer in Raleigh. I'm just curious from an opposing coach's perspective, how does Duke change defensively when Malik Brown is available and when he's not, sort of in your scouting?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've looked at their games lately, and he hasn't played much here lately, so I haven't seen him play a ton, and I know he's a shoulder injury from what I've read. He's definitely like switchable, can move, athletic, like a little different, maybe not quite the same level of rim protection maybe as Malawak. I don't know if anybody is. I think he's got like a 9'8" standing reach. It's kind of crazy. I told our guys he jumps about that high to dunk the basketball. So, but Malik can move from what I've seen in some of the games, like very athletic. So, I guess they've got different options that they can go to. Patrick's also an option. Shoot. Most places, all 3 of those guys would be starting, and they've got the luxury of having all 3 of them and go with different options. So, we'll see what they decide to go with. And, we've got some different options ourselves, but, they know what they're doing over there on that coaching staff. So we'll see if they decide to use them against some of the lineups we roll out there.
We'll stay standing right there.
Hey, Nate. Right here. Brendan Marks from The Athletic. Just wondering if during the recruiting process, if you guys ever engaged with Cooper at all, or if it was fairly certain where he was going, and then also if, as you guys have been studying the tape a little bit more frequently, if your impression of him has changed at all based on what you might have thought earlier on in the season.
Yeah, we never engaged with him. Didn't think we were going to be able to get him at Alabama. I think some other schools tried. I think it was a heavy Duke lean from everything I heard from early on, and finishing second place, you may as well finish 100th place. So there's no point in to get going after that, in my opinion. So no, we didn't. Everything I heard about him was great, though. Unbelievable kid, super hard competitor. As I've watched the film, I mean, I think his IQ, obviously, he's talented. You see the highlight reel plays and how athletic he is, and he plays hard on both sides of the ball. He's an unbelievable defender. I think one of the things that stands out is he's really good in kind of pick and rolls, and just his IQ. Like, if you help, he's going to find where the help came from. He's going to find the open man. So, he's as good a passer as he is a scorer, and you kind of all knew how good of a scorer he was. So he makes it hard to guard because you can't really load up on him because they got shooting around him. If you don't load up on him, he's hard to guard one-on-one. So, we're going to have to do our best, but he's also one of those guys that I mean, yeah, like, you're not going to hold him down to 10 points. That's just not happening. Like, let's hold him in single digits. He's going to find his way to score some buckets. That's just it. What you can't have is him scoring 25 and getting 8, 9, 10 assists and picking up all these fouls. Like, you're going to have to decide what you want to do. And some of their guys, you better not help very far off because they can really shoot it. So we're going to have to be on top of our game plan with him and have a couple different options, because I think if you just do the same thing with him all the time, he's smart enough to figure it out pretty quick.
We'll do 2 more here on row 3, row 4, and then we'll go to the other side of the room.
Nate, you were actually just tapping in again to what I was going to ask. From an objective scouting standpoint, what do you think is the more difficult thing to do? To hold Cooper under his averages, or to not allow Alabama to get what it wants from the three-point range?
Ooh. Well, I haven't played Duke yet, so I don't know how difficult it's going to be to hold Cooper under his averages. Some teams have done a good job. I'll say this. If you want to take the 3 away from us, you can take 3 away from us. So I'm going to say it's harder to hold Cooper under his averages because there's a way to take the 3 away from us. Now, we've shown, somebody sent me a stat, we would have won the game last night even if we didn't make it 2. Just based on threes and free throws, we win the game. But we've also played where we've scored almost 70 points in the paint, 2 for teams that are just dead set on. So people ask me, how many threes do you want to get up? Well, depends on how you want to guard us. If you're going to guard us and not let us in the paint, let's get 51 up. And we should have had 52 if Holloway had gotten his foot behind the line on the one. So, if you want to completely run us off the line, build out on every drive, then, you know what, we'll try to go score 70, 75 points in the paint. So for sure you can take away our threes by guarding us a certain way, but then you are going to open the paint up on that. So I'm guessing it's going to be hard to keep Cooper under his averages. I haven't played him yet, though, so you'll have to ask me that after the game.
And we'll go row 4 before we go to the other side of the room.
Chase Goodred with the Tuscaloosa News. I want to ask you a question about pace of play. Obviously, BYU wanted to go up and down with y'all. Duke, Alabama's number 1, I think, in possessions per game. Duke's like 280th. Can you just speak to what you expect in terms of pace of play?
Yeah, I think part of Duke's is, you know, they don't play as fast as we do, obviously. You just gave the numbers. You know, part of it's their defense pretty good. Teams take a while to score on them, so the better your defense is, the longer those possessions go. Offensively, they're a little bit more deliberate at times. You know, they want to make sure that they get into the same actions. We're a little bit more free-flowing. And, you know, they probably run a few more sets, and we play a little bit more in the flow. But, they're good in transition, though. Like, don't, just because their tempo is not top 100 or whatever. What is their tempo? 200? 274. Yeah, just because it's down in the low 200s doesn't mean they don't get out and run in transition when they get opportunities to. They're still scoring plenty of transition points. Our transition D has to be elite. You see all the highlight. It's just if they don't have what they're not going to do, from what I've seen, is typically run on makes. You know, they'll set up and run something where we're still trying to play in the flow and run off makes. They won't. So they will opportunistically run, and you better make sure you're back because they got athletes and shooters that will take threes, but they're not going to run every single time on every shot whenever they can like we do.
We're going to go to this side of the room. We'll start in row 1.
Hey, Nate. Ralph Russo from The Athletic. I want to take you back to when you were interviewing for this job with Greg Byrne. What needed to be done to create sustainable success in this program? Because you can argue that this program has never had as good a run as this. Maybe not. So when you were thinking about taking this job and what Greg thought might this basketball program become, what needed to be done and what has he delivered on, and you delivered on?
You know, I think the athletic department at Alabama is as good as any in the country. I think resource-wise, I believe there's 6 different sports that have won national championships. So they're going to make sure the athletes are supported, that the coaches have the resources they need to win, and they've done that. We're in the middle of building a new practice facility. It's going to be as good as any in the country, in my opinion. New offices, training rooms, strength, all that stuff. They're supporting us with financial resources that they need to. Somebody just referenced Preston Murphy. You know, I think he's top 4 now in the SEC in assistant coaches. So they've given us what we need to in that regard. I think one of the things, you know, we put in a style that kids want to play in. So you obviously, to have sustained success, you need to have good players. We had pretty good players when I got here. You know, Coach Johnson was here before me and had done a pretty good job recruiting talent. Herb, you know, our second year after the system had got in, we got enough pieces around it. But the main guys that we won with that first year, Alex Reese was here last night. He's playing in the NBA right now at a stretch big. Herb Jones has been starting in the NBA since his rookie year. John Petty, leading three-point shooter in Alabama history. They all fit us very well. And we walked into that group. We were able to take that group, add the pieces to it, get it going pretty quick. And what we've been able to do, I think, maybe better now than they had in the past, is recruit nationally, which, you know, before they kind of recruited a lot more geographically. Now, Petway had gone out and gotten Jaden Shackelford, who was really good from California, so he did a little bit, but not to the extent we've been able to do now. You know, Coach Hodgson, who just got the job at South Florida, was able to do that a little more. Preston Murphy now is recruiting all over the country. So, you know, we're going and getting the best players that fit our system from anywhere. And I think that's what you've got to do to sustain the success. And they've put a program in place and allowed us to do what we need to do to build a program that recruits want to come play in. We've kind of done a study. We've done a better job improving guys' NBA draft stock than anybody in the country since we've been here. And that's a lot of what recruits are looking for. And that's what we've been able to provide. And I think it's helped us, putting an NBA system in and recruiting NBA talent. It's helped us kind of sustain this success over the 5 years now, I guess, is what it's been.
Next two questions are here in row 2.
Hi, Steve Weissman, Raleigh News and Observer. I want to ask you about Jaron Stevenson. Given he played such a role in you getting to the Final Four last year with his game against Clemson, he's had kind of an up and down sophomore year. What's your assessment of the way he's played this year? And he's still somebody you can count on for a game like that in a game of this magnitude?
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody about that earlier today. He didn't play particularly well in the Sweet 16 game last year against North Carolina. I was hoping he'd play great. He's from Chapel Hill. Would have been a great story, but wasn't meant to be that way. So just to encourage him, he comes out and he goes 5 of 8 from 3 and scores 19 points as a freshman. Jaron was supposed to be a senior in high school last year. So this year is supposed to be his freshman year in college. So last year, as a kid that's supposed to be a senior in high school, he scores 19 in the Elite 8 game to send us to a first Final Four in school history. I don't think he gets afraid of the moment at all. As he struggled a little bit, yeah, he's a pretty quiet kid, and he's gone through some slumps, as any players do. Some of the best NBA players go through shooting slumps, and he's had a few slumps. I think he's more than capable of going 5-8 again or doing something great. We're going to need him to be great. Duke's got size everywhere. His athleticism to guard. Guessing maybe you watched our game when we played at Carolina earlier this year. He did as good a job as anybody on R.J. Davis when we beat Carolina at Carolina. So he's capable of being one of the elite two-way guys in the country with his shooting ability, his finishing, his strength, his athleticism on offense, and then how he can guard guys. And we just need to keep pumping him full of confidence. He's a kid that he doesn't even know how good he is. When you talk to him, he has no idea. I think he should be a long-time NBA player. I think he should. We got to realize he's young and pump him full of confidence and get him going, because he could be an X factor for us for sure.
We'll stay in row 2.
Roger Rubin from New York Newsday. Nate, you got into pretty good depth about all the different ways that Cooper Flagg can hurt you. I wanted to ask you about a couple of the other guys on Duke. Con Knuppel, how are the ways that you see him as a threat?
One of the best shooters in the country. We tried to recruit him. We did a pretty good job, and it wasn't quite good enough because I'd like to have his shooting ability in our offense, but they have it. So now we got to figure out how to guard it. He doesn't miss much. He gets his stuff off actions. He gets his feet set, but he's also a strong physical driver. He's got good size. He can get downhill, and he's super high IQ guy. So, yeah, he's very good. There's a reason he's going to be a lottery pick this year.
And the other guy I was going to ask you about was Malwatch. You did mention his rim protecting. What are some of the other things that you think he does well?
He's a lob target. Cooper likes to find him in ball screens going to the rim. When he's kind of down in that dunkers area, if you will, behind the backboard, guys help up. They find him on lobs. So he's done that well for him on offense. And I think the biggest thing he does for him is protect the rim, and he makes it impossible to score at the rim when he's in there. So, they've got top 5 offense and defense, and he kind of anchors that defense. So he's been a lead for him on that end all year.
We'll go to row 4, and then we'll come back to row 3.
Jamal Murphy, Hoops HQ. Back to Cooper, and obviously, very versatile. But what do you think is the biggest strength of his game? And as a coach, what's the first thing you would try to take away?
I think his strength is his versatility, because if you try to take one thing away, he can go to, like to say, well, let's keep him from getting to the rim because he's such an athletic, strong downhill driver. Well, he's shooting in the high 30s, 36, 37% or whatever it is, and then say, okay, well, I think he's actually better off the dribble than he is on catch and shoot. So then what do you go under on pick and rolls? Well, he's shooting almost 40% on off the dribble threes. You go over pick and rolls, he gets downhill, he throws lobs, he finishes at the rim. Like, look, there's a reason he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I think you're going to have to mix it up because he's so versatile, and you're going to have to try to, like, keep him off balance a little bit, because if you give him the same dose of everything for 40 minutes, seems like he's got pretty high IQ. He'll figure it out.
We'll go to row 3 here for the next 2 questions.
Alejandro Lopez, Zags blog. Coach, yesterday you talked about how you built up Sears' confidence in terms of his shooting struggles by telling him that there's a thing called regression to the mean. Now, when you go out and you have a record-setting performance like you did yesterday, is there any worry that that regression to the mean might come back to bite you in terms of your shooting?
Well, I think he shot 44% last year, if I remember correctly. So if we go on the last 7 games, he was 5 for 35. What did he go yesterday? 10 for 16. So that's 15 for 51. So we still got some room to go up to get to his 44% he was last year. So let's plan that he was down, and now the regression back to the mean started, and he's continuing to head up that way. That's my hope. But I hope maybe Duke thinks the other way, that he's going to be back. Hopefully they treat him like a 14% shooter and go under every ball screen. That would be ideal.
All right, we'll stay right there. Dan in the middle.
Dan Gelson, Associated Press. Since you've been hired, not even compared to really the football program, but how have you seen just in the own program, the perception, the popularity, the mood around town, around campus change with you and your players now that it's an elite program?
Yeah, we're pretty much every game sold out. The student sections are camping out for big games. We don't play in front of empty crowd. When I first got there, non-conference, while football season's still going on, it's hard to get half the place full. Now that we lead the country in scoring back-to-back years, we got a winning program. We've won 4 SEC championships between the regular season and the tournament. We've been to Final Four. Don't have an issue selling the place out. The crowd support's great. People around town are supporting us. People are stepping up in big ways. It's a sports community, it's a sports state. The whole state of Alabama gets behind Crimson Tide, and we sense that everywhere we go, and I think we see it. So, and the Roll Tide's kind of across the country, a lot of Alabama fans, and now a lot of that's based on the football program and what they've been able to do throughout many, many, many years. But all those Alabama football fans were turning into basketball fans, and a lot of them already were. We just had to resurrect them, bring them out of the woodwork, and they've come, and they're there, and they're there now. So it's been a good time for us that way.
I will take a question here, row 2 at this end.
Coach Adeshina Koike, a lot of sports talk. You put on your math teacher hat just now, talking about Mark Sears' shooting the past few games. I want you to keep that math teacher hat on for this. So many student athletes at the college level and the prep level saw your game yesterday and have seen your teams play at Buffalo and seen your teams play here and would be attracted to your style of play. But a lot of those student athletes and people their age would probably be turned off if they knew your background in math and learning all of the subjects that you taught. When you were a teacher, how did you impress the importance of the algebra and geometry on students then? And how would you address that to student athletes and teenagers who would be turned off by math, especially during a fraught time in education and public education in this country?
It's a good question. I've got 3 daughters. Lexi's a junior in college, so I've had to help her on some math stuff through college. And then Jossie's 15. She's a sophomore. She's a pretty good student, but it does have the question, when am I ever going to use this in real life? Sometimes that's not the point. You need to stretch your mind a little bit and learn how to do it, and who knows when you'll use it. Some of the math I taught and learned, I don't use anymore. But some of the stuff I need to learn a lot better, and you never know where life takes you, so it's always good to stretch your mind. And I got 12-year-old Brielle, and of course, in 7th grade. They're not overly excited about math, but we're trying to get her a little more excited about it. For my students, I try to make it as applicable as you can. Not everything you teach is applicable to everything in life. You just make the point, like, look, man, I like math because it's a puzzle. It's a product you get. There's a right answer at the end. There's no subjectivity. Thought this paragraph sounded great. This paper, one teacher grades it an A and one teacher grades it a C. In math, it's either right or wrong. So it's a lot more objectivity to it and get your mind thinking in ways that it needs to get better at. So that's how I just learn the material. I'm going to help you learn it. Different people learn different ways. Try to motivate them to learn. And we do some math lessons with our guys. We kind of go through their shot type reports with them every year. I go through efficiency numbers. It's actually amazing now that you got the transfer portal going. And we don't go to very high level math at all, but it's kind of amazing that how little math as it applies to basketball some of these guys actually know when we get them. So I do put my math teacher hat on occasionally and get up on the whiteboard and start expected value on a shot, how you get that, how you expected value on free throws, all that stuff. So we go through it a little bit.
We got one final question over here at the other end in row 2.
Jeff Borzello, ESPN. Because of the success you've had in the last 5 or so years, I mean, the expectations have skyrocketed. I mean, the second weekend of the tournament is sort of the bare minimum for the program now. I mean, how do you deal with those rising expectations moving forward? And does it add any pressure to just reload your roster to a top 5, top 10 level every single spring?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we'd want it any other way. If you're at a program with no expectations and you've been there 6 years, it means you haven't been doing your job. So we came in, we turned the expectation level around. They're supporting us like a top 10 program in the country. When the administration supports you like a top 10 program in the country, there's an expectation level that's how you perform, and that's how we want to recruit. Now, in a one-game elimination tournament like the NCAA basketball tournament is, that doesn't mean you're going to make it to the second weekend or to the Elite Eight or the Final Four every year. Sometimes it doesn't work like that. I mean, there's very good teams that get upset, and there's still very good teams that had a great year. So, but we want to be in the discussion for a team that can make a Final Four every year. We've been that for the last few years running now. The recruiting's got to stay at a high level. That's why it's a good thing we got Preston on a 3-year contract that came out today, because he's, in my opinion, one of the best, if not the best recruiter in the country, and we'll have the talent. We play a system that guys want to come to. But yeah, when you get the players that we've got and you've won at the level we've won, that's the expectation level. And I think that the players understand what they're coming here for. They're coming here to win championships. They're coming here to compete against the best. We've had the #1 strength of schedule in the country the last 2 years in a row. We've led the country in scoring the last 2 years in a row, but we've also won at a pretty high level. Somebody gave me a stat. In Power 5 schools, I think we're 5th in the last 5 seasons in wins, and Duke's 3rd. So we're right up there. We don't have a national championship like some of these blue bloods have, but we're in the last 5 years competing with a lot of the blue blood programs for wins, championships, and all that stuff. And that I like where the expectations are. And I mean, whatever you can call it, pressure, whatever you want, it's expectation is you win. That's what we expect around here now. So we're not going into this Duke game. I know we'll be underdogs. I know they're the 1 seed. We understand all that. Our mindset is we go in, we do what we need to do with the game plan, and we're going to get the win. Now, it's a lot easier said than done, but we're not going in there just hoping we can play with them. Like, even when I was at Buffalo and we played Arizona, I laid it out. This is what we're going to do, and when we do this, we're going to win the game. And that's what you do. So I think you lay out the game plan. If we execute these things, you keep it as simple as you can, but it's got to be a game plan that when these are executed, you win the game. And that's the expectation going into every game, no matter who we play. And we've played the best teams in the country since I've got here, and we've been able to beat a lot. Shoot, we've got 13 wins against AP-ranked teams this year. which I think is tied for the most with two different Duke teams and the UCLA team for the most in a single year. So we've beaten really good teams this year. We had opportunities to beat some more, and we didn't do it, but we've got another opportunity in front of us tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Coach.